perfectly moving up in both goods. If that, okay. A little bit off. Okay, here we go. So let's do the exercise to go through this to the demand curve. The demand curve is going to be defined by our budget constraint. And so what we're going to do is we're going to vary the price of good 1. That's how we're going to get a demand curve out of it. So I'm going to have a little table here. We are going to vary the price of donuts, $1, $1.50, $2. We're going to keep price constant, and we're going to keep income constant. So as we said, we have, so this is quantity of coffee, cups of coffee, and number of donuts. This is back to where we were mapping it. So 1, 2.5, 2.5. So in all of these, the price of coffee is staying the same. We can afford the same amount. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So when it's $1, we can afford all the way out here 5 cups. When the price is $1.50, we can afford somewhere in here 3.3 cups. And then when the price is the same, we're going to go right here to 2.5 cups. So this is what we've already talked about. The budget constraints are changing. Let's see. So now we have indifference curves nesting in here. Let me pick my quantities right here. So here there's a bundle that's going through some preference curve that we can afford. And there's going to be some other bundles going through indifference curves that are nested under those indifference curves. So these indifference curves are sort of invisible. There's not a mathematical representation. There's just some place that's going to offer a tangency to the budget constraint. There's the budget constraint, budget constraint, budget constraint, and then we'll have an indifference curve, an indifference curve, and an indifference curve. And what we'll find out from these is that we'll find out we have 3 quantities that we figured out from changing the prices. So when the price of donuts is really low, we can consume 2.5 units of donuts and 2.5 units of coffee. As the price of donuts goes up, we will consume a little less, 1.2. 1.2, 1.7, and 2.5. So we have 3 amounts of donuts that we're consuming as the price of donuts is increasing. We're consuming less donuts. You guys with me here? So we're going to have 3. We're going to read off 3 quantities of donuts, and then so if this is the same table. I'm just going to redo it because I left it blank. 2.5, 1.7, and 1.2. And this is going to be our data table that we can do to now draw a demand curve where we're going to change back to demand curve space, which is the price of donuts versus the quantity of donuts. Instead of quantity and quantity, now we have dollars. So you're buying. So in this space. The 2.5, well, this you're going to still buy some coffee with the other amount of money. You're buying a bundle of coffee and donuts. We haven't written down how much coffee you're buying because we're just going to try and do a demand curve for donuts as the price of donuts changes. Right? So now we're in this space that's dollars versus donuts, demand curve space. And we have 3 points. We have, well, let's see, 1, 2. When the price of donuts is $2, we can eat 1.2 donuts when the price is $2. So we have a point there. Then when the price is $1.50, we are going to consume 1.7 donuts. So 1.7 donuts when the price is 1.5. We're mapping out the data that we got just as we mapped out data for, and at $1, we are going to consume 2.5 donuts. So sorry, 1 donuts, 2 donuts, 3 donuts. Okay, so here we have, we're going to consume 2.5 at the price of 1. Sorry about that. So now if we connect these points, we have a demand curve for donuts. How the quantity of donuts changes as the price of donuts changes. So we went from just donut and coffee space with just quantities into a dollar space. And that's how indifference curves are going to map to draw us a demand curve. We could also do a similar thing with income shifting out. We could do a budget constraint where income is higher and then vary the price again. So if we did it at a higher amount of money in our pocket and had 3 more points with different prices, we could have a shift out in a demand curve. Say this was with $5, and then we increase the amount of money y. So this is y increasing. We'd have 3 more points, and we would have the demand curve shifting out with an increase in income. So it's a normal good. We're consuming more at each different point. So that's pretty much it for today. I can go through the stuff in the book, but I think I'm going to end early today. Did everybody get the problem set? It's B courses, files. So you can work through some of the stuff on the problem set.